Well, that's been very interesting, Doug, to hear about your life and your stories. And you mentioned Deb, your wife, and we have Carrie here, your daughter.
Yeah, I got that through Deb.
That's it. There we go. And so, Carrie, it's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
And because a lot of things that we talk about in this course relates to families and implications of families. So we were hoping that you could share with folks about your responsibilities associated with having a father who's blind.
Well, a lot of people ask me like if it's different, like having different responsibilities. And because I've never known my dad as being anything but blind, it's not like weird or unique in a way to me, I guess. It's just what I do as part of my life. Right. I am currently on campus because I'm a Penn State freshman. But when I was living at home, I did a lot of like organization and making sure everything stayed in its place so my dad knew where it was. For example, everything in our kitchen and like in our fridge stays in one place. So, for example, the milk is always in one place on the door. Same with the orange juice or like the cheese, because those are the things that he gets to the most often. And the same thing goes with all of his medications, because he's on about 20 plus medications daily. And for a while, I was the only person that knew like everything that he was on and when. And so it was really important for me to keep everything organized and structured to make sure like I wasn't giving him the wrong dosing or anything like that.
Right.
I think what else I do.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not weird to me, so it's hard thinking of things.
How about when you go out together?
Well, my dad mentioned sighted guide. So basically, I'm his guide dog in a way, where he'll just grab onto my shoulder and will walk kind of, he's like a step behind me, and have his cane out, so that kind of warns people, like, move. But like you said, college students are creatures, and so they don't always move and then get tripped up, which can be an issue, but
not a problem.
If you don't move, then
they trip.
Yeah.
He will go down.
Yeah.
He does work.
Yeah, always a friend.
Right. Yeah.
There are a lot of times where like we'll go out to eat, and if you're trying to walk through the restaurant to like get to your table, people will just stare at you. And obviously it's not like any ill intention or anything. But being stared at like constantly, especially as a teenager, like everyone knows that kind of like self-consciousness. Oh my God, why is everyone looking at me? And it's just more difficult when it's constant. Right. And even if you know the reason, like, because obviously they're not necessarily looking at me, like they're looking at him because he's unique to most people.
Right.
But because, oh, gosh. But because I'm a part of that, we're kind of bonded together in that sense. So if someone's looking at him, they're looking at me.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, you feel the stare.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then walking around downtown and things like that.
That's where most of the student tripping happens. A lot of the times, that's one of the places we get stared at the most, just because campus is always so busy and people are running around all over the place. Right. There are times when some people will like ask if we need any help, which is always accepted. I mean, if we don't need anything, we'll let you know.
Right.
But it's always nice to have someone like ask. Yeah, don't just take them across the road, you know?
Right. Good. How about your friends, when you bring your friends over to play when you were younger?
Well, because like I said, I've never known him as anything different. Neither have my friends. So growing up, he was always the blind guy. I mean, everyone knew me because they know him. There's not many blind people in this area. There's a little support network, but it's not common, I guess. So more often my friends would just kind of ask questions, or not necessarily avoid, but observe, and just kind of try to soak it in, or like see what they could do, if anything could be done to provide assistance or anything like that.
Right. Right.
I had one young lady want to get up and help me with my talks that I give. She had nothing to do with me until she saw it and realized that I was getting attention up on top. And I had Carrie up there with me giving attention. She wanted to be a part of that attention getting
Interesting.
moment.
So it was an attraction for her.
Yeah. It's being like the whole unique thing. Like we are attracted to what's different. Even if we don't like consciously do it, it's just you want to know what that thing is.
Right.
Whether it's him being a thing or, you know, some other person that has some kind of impairment.
Right. And so how has this made you feel over the years?
Soft and squishy.
Yeah, malleable. You have to be willing to adapt to change pretty quickly, which I absolutely hate change, so it's really hard. But the combination of that and knowing like all of the medications by myself, which obviously now my mom takes care of, but that, the staring, just being like different in general, I guess you could say, even if it's not necessarily me, that put a lot of pressure on me internally. And because my dad has had so many other medical issues just besides his blindness, we've been in the hospital several times where talking to the doctors, like I was the only person that knew what medications he was on and how often. And at the time when he had his first stroke, I was 14. And I was the one that convinced him to go to the hospital, and he wouldn't even let me call an ambulance. We had to take a cab. So that's, yeah, it's a lot of pressure. But at the same token, because you want him to be taken care of, you don't want to verbalize that or like take away from whatever care he needs.
Right.
So for me, I ended up cutting because of all of that, which obviously not something that I'd be proud of. But that was, you know, the reality. That was what happened in my life. And part of the best thing that came out of that was realizing that between my mom and my dad, like we are a family unit. And so whatever affects my dad affects all of us. And we just have to take that into consideration and plan accordingly.
Right. Sounds like a very mature way of approaching things. Or
Are you cutting now?
No, I am clean now. So that's part of the whole thing. But being with the family unit like helps move past difficulties, even if they're in the family unit.
Sure.
I guess is that.
Right, and all of us have difficulties. Your father has difficulties, your mom, you, we all have difficulties as we come to a family. So, yeah. And even dogs sometimes have problems, huh?
She's a good little support pup.